Why would Jesus tell someone, "Do not be afraid," at the exact moment when they had every reason to be terrified? Think about that. If the danger is real, if the loss is real, if the future is uncertain, why would Jesus tell someone not to fear? And more importantly, what did he actually mean? Because Jesus said these words many times, but he didn't say them to people sitting comfortably with nothing to worry about. He said them in moments of crisis. And that's where this becomes interesting. One of the clearest examples happened on the Sea of Galilee. Jesus' disciples were caught in a violent storm. The wind was beating against the boat. The waves were coming over it. The disciples believed they were in serious danger. And Jesus was there. When they woke him, they were terrified. Jesus stood up, rebuked the wind and the sea, and suddenly there was calm. Then he asked them, "Why are you afraid?" Notice what Jesus did. He didn't tell them, "There was no storm. There was a storm." He didn't tell them, "You imagined the danger." The danger was real. But Jesus was teaching them that the storm around them was not greater than the one who was with them. And then we see something even more difficult. A man named Jairus came to Jesus because his daughter was dying. He was desperate. Jesus went with him. But while they were on the way, people came with terrible news. His daughter had died. Can you imagine what that moment meant for him? And what did Jesus say? "Do not be afraid, just believe." Why would Jesus say that? When Jairus had just received the worst news possible. Jesus wasn't denying his pain. He wasn't pretending that death wasn't serious. He was asking Jairus not to let fear determine what he believed about what God could still do. And then Jesus entered the house. The story didn't end with the news of death. It ended with Jesus bringing the girl back to life. That changes the meaning of those words. "Do not be afraid," was never simply, "Nothing bad will happen." It was, "Do not allow fear to decide what you believe about me." And Jesus taught his disciples something similar when he spoke about the future. He told them not to worry about tomorrow. Why? Because fear has a strange way of bringing tomorrow's problems into today's life. Nothing has happened yet, but we have already lived through it in our minds. We imagine the conversation. We imagine the loss. We imagine the failure. We imagine everything going wrong. And Jesus says, "Don't give tomorrow the burden of today. Tomorrow will have its own concerns. Live today's life with today's grace." But there is another moment that makes the message even more powerful. After Jesus' resurrection, his followers were still frightened. Their world had changed completely. The man they had followed had been crucified. Their hopes had been shattered. They didn't know what would happen next. And Jesus came to them. Again, his message was, "Do not be afraid." Why? Because fear was still present. Jesus didn't promise his followers that they would never experience fear again. Instead, he taught them where to stand when fear came. And that is the part we can easily miss. Jesus never said, "You will never have a reason to be afraid." He showed people that fear does not have to become their master. You can be afraid, and still have faith. You can be uncertain, and still trust. You can be facing something you cannot control, and still choose not to let fear make your decisions. So when Jesus says, "Do not be afraid," he isn't asking you to pretend that your problem doesn't exist. He is asking you to look beyond the problem. The storm may be real. The diagnosis may be frightening. The financial situation may be difficult. The relationship may be breaking. The future may genuinely be uncertain. Jesus does not ask you to deny reality. He asks you to remember that reality is not bigger than God. So perhaps the better question isn't, "How can I make myself stop being afraid?" Perhaps the question is, "What am I going to believe while I am afraid?" Because that is where faith begins. Not when everything becomes easy. Not when every question has an answer. Not when the storm has already passed. Faith begins when you are still standing in the storm and choose to trust Jesus anyway. So the next time fear tells you, "This is the end," remember what Jesus has already shown his followers. The storm is not the whole story. The bad news is not necessarily the final word. And tomorrow does not belong to fear. It belongs to God. So why did Jesus say, "Do not be afraid"? Because he knew something fear often makes us forget. You may not know what happens next, but you can know who is with you. And sometimes, that is enough to take the next step.